Welcome to the Michael Singer Podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. There are so many paths, techniques that one can follow to go through their evolutionary process. Yoga is all about the energy. It's all about working with the energy. It's all about raising the energy, purifying the center so the energy can raise, bringing your consciousness up to the highest centers, which is important and wonderful. The question I always ask is, why is it not there? What is your natural state? Is your natural state to have to do all these efforts and push and struggle and stress? Or is your natural state just purity, ecstasy, total freedom, liberation? Well, that is your natural state, but very few come to that state. But all that have say the same thing, that you are God descended. It's not even fair to say you are God descended. You are God staring at you. That's all. He didn't really descend. If I want to look at that picture over there, I don't have to get up and go over there, do I? I just focus my consciousness, which is inside, like a ray of light, onto that picture, and focus it such that I'm not distracted by other things. Do you want to sit there and say, I'm the picture descended? No, I'm the consciousness that is focused on that picture. That's what's going on with us humans. It is divine consciousness, enlightenment, the pure, the infinite, the absolute, the unmanifest, the manifest, any way you want to talk about it. That which was in the beginning and will be in the end and always was and always will be, that awareness of being throughout the universe is the same awareness. There's no difference of what's staring at the galaxy than what's staring at your mind. There's just consciousness. Consciousness is the one, is the truth, is the absolute, is the beginning and the end. If there was not consciousness, there would be no reason to have creation, because nothing's aware of it. Consciousness is what gives total meaning to everything. But if consciousness, divine consciousness, the infinite consciousness, is focused on your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and what's coming through your senses, it has focused so much that it limited its experience of existence to those things. That is what's going on, period. Someone who understands that understands everything, and that is not complicated. You're obviously conscious. You're in there aware of your thoughts, of your emotions, of your body, and of the world that comes through your senses. In where? And where did you come from? I know where your body came from. Psychology can understand where your thoughts come from. Somebody learned experiences. You know where your emotions come from. You see them all the time, okay? Where did the awareness of being come from? Because we're so lost in our thoughts, our emotions, our body senses, and our body everything, and then what comes in through our senses, which is a very small part of your world. Your senses don't pick up very much at a given time. That little package of thought, emotion, body, physical body, and the world around you, which is very small. You think the world is big. No, you only pick up a tiny little bit of it. That package has distracted consciousness. Whose consciousness? Consciousness. I never try to talk to you this way because I want you to get to yourself. There is only one consciousness. There's just one awareness of itself, awareness of being. And it is aware of itself in the farthest galaxies, every star, throughout the entire universe. It's just, it's like you're aware of your hands and your feet and your legs and your knees at the same time. It is aware of itself, which is everything at the same time. Okay? Well, that's enlightenment. That's realization. That's liberation. So it's God realization. It's what Christ meant by my Father and I are one. Okay? He ceased to stare at this tiny little thing and he merged back into the universe. He merged back into the Father. He merged back into the creator of all of creation. Well, why, if that is what's in here, don't I experience that? Because the same way as if I only look at that picture, I don't see the rest of the room. If I stare enough at that picture, you guys aren't here. I can't hear you, can't do anything, because my entire consciousness is focused on that one spot. Do you understand that? Is that true or not? Do you have the ability to get distracted so much by one thing that you're fixated on it? Of course. That is what has happened, is the consciousness has become so distracted by your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and your outside world that it doesn't leave staring at that. It stares at that all the time. Don't you? You stare at your thoughts all the time. I try to teach you you're not your thoughts. How do I know you're not the thoughts? Because you're the one who notices the thoughts. If you don't notice them, they ain't there. And it's still not a problem. But if you get distracted by them, then your awareness of being is focused on those thoughts. And it goes back and forth from one thought to another thought, causes another thought. And then they cause emotions. And then by the time you're done, you're totally lost in your thoughts and your emotions, which tend to sync up. If your emotions are messed up, your mind's going to be messed up. If your mind's doing very well, your emotions feel they work together. And then basically your body certainly can draw your attention, just drop something on your toe. That's where you're at. Your thoughts ain't there, your emotions aren't there, all right? And so on. And let the outside world distract you. It could be a sunset that pulls you out of your distraction of yourself. Art does it. Music certainly can do it, can it? I lost myself in the music. Well, where'd you get lost? Oh my God, I better call the lost and found people. That's not what you mean by I lost myself. I was hanging out with my thoughts, my emotions, my bodily everything. And then all of a sudden, this amazing sunset, this beautiful music caught my attention. God, we use these words we don't know what we're talking about. What does it mean to caught your attention? My awareness of being ceased to focus on this set of thoughts and focus on that music. It caught my attention. It moved my consciousness onto a different object, okay? And if it moved it away from these bothersome thoughts I was having all day, because the music was so beautiful, or the artwork was so beautiful, or the sunset was so amazing when I turned it, I'm not experiencing the thought. I'm experiencing my ego. I'm not experiencing what I want or don't want. I lost myself in the object. And that's a very, very beautiful thing, isn't it? Very nice to lose yourself. You wish you could. Where are you when you don't lose yourself? Where are you when you stop being caught up in the music? Gee, I wish I could meet that band by myself. I wonder if they're coming to town. All of a sudden, boom, all the thoughts come back. They're all about you. And you caught right back in there. So you get distracted for a short period of time, okay? And so this, I could stop my talk right there. If you understand this, you understand everything. You understand all of yoga, all of true spirituality, all of Christ's teachings, all of Buddhist teachings. As you're in there and we say you're lost. What does that mean lost? You're staring at you. You're addicted to you, aren't you? The self is not addicted to you. The self is infinite and expansive. The same you in there who's looking at her is looking at her. Like a light can be a floodlight, can shine on everything. Or it can be a focused light, a spotlight, and only focus on one thing. What you have is the divine consciousness, which is one. That's what Christ meant. We are one. My Father and I are one. You're one. But that, every ray of that consciousness is focusing on these different pieces that are distracting it. So what you really are is God distracted. Hope it didn't insult you. You are. First, that's nice to know you're God, because that's what you are. I don't feel it. Of course you don't feel it. You're staring at something other than that. You're staring at what you're looking at instead of paying attention to who's looking. You see the difference? You're having experiences. Yes, there are all kinds of experiences. Thought experiences, emotion experiences, physical body experiences, outside distraction experiences. Yes, you're having tons of experiences. Who is? You are. It's the same you that's having every one of those experiences. You're amazing. They say, can you walk and chew gum at the same time? You can have thoughts, emotions, body experiences, and interact with the world all at the same time. And you are lost in that. That's what you do all the time. So the key is not can you, it's can you not? And that is what the whole yoga and all the spiritual path is all about, is can you not? Like Patanjali wrote Yoga Sutras, I think 500 BC, something like that. One of the great scriptures in yoga, they all turn to it. And he said that there's 4 states of your growth, of what's going on. First is you're lost in the outside world. So you need to be able to withdraw your senses from the outside world. Otherwise, they distract you and you can't meditate. You can't do anything because you're constantly being involved in what's going on out there. So that's called pratyahara. Pratyahara, the ability, which not everybody can do. I'll qualify. Everybody can do it, but not in the way you think. All right? Pratyahara means I have the ability to be in here and withdraw my senses from the distractions of the outside world. Obviously, if you're going to meditate, you better do that. Otherwise, you're sitting there listening to what's going on all over you, and you call that meditation. Okay? But you can. And I said to you, you do it all the time, lots of times. Every single one of you never meditated a day in your life, you do pratyahara, true, full pratyahara. You withdraw your consciousness from the senses. When you go to sleep. Are the senses still there? You withdraw your awareness from them. Makes me want to cry. When you see how great you are, you have the ability to enter that great state of pratyahara. Don't you? Every single night, you lay down in that bed and things go on, people talk to you, there's noise in the house, whatever's going on, you know, nothing. Until it bothers you enough, then you come back. But otherwise, what happened? You withdraw your awareness. The senses are still working. They're still picking up what they're picking up, sending it through the system. The nice thing is you, the consciousness, are not focused on it enough for it to be the world you're in. You're in some inner world, but you have to enter pratyahara in order to get into that world. Well, that's kind of neat that you know how to do that. I saw once a video of Yogananda, very great master. And master always, ever since he came to America, if people would ask him a question, he said, well, who else is going to teach you? I will sincerely answer your question. So somebody, and he was a great being, could go anywhere, inside and out. Somebody once asked him, I saw the video, old 1920s, 30s, 40s, and somebody asked him, can you fall asleep at will? Generally, you can't fall asleep at will. The fact that you're there, you ain't going to sleep. Okay? So he laid down on the couch, did a close-up of his face, laid down on the couch, rolled his eyes up for less than 1 second. Gone. Anytime he wants, enter the state of pratyahara. Now, he went way past that. We'll talk about that later. But I want you to understand, you can relate to that state. Don't sit there and read the Yoga Sutras and think that pratyahara is some weird thing that only these great masters can enter, or somebody who meditates for 3 weeks in solid at a retreat and, oh, I went away for 5 minutes. Okay? You do it every single night. There. Can I keep moving? That is pratyahara. You have withdrawn your consciousness from the senses. They are not pulling your consciousness back down into them, right? And then he said, well, that's not meditation, obviously. That's just withdrawing your consciousness from your senses. Then there's dharana. Now that you can withdraw your inner being, the consciousness of your inner being, from being distracted by the outside world, can you focus your consciousness inside to one-pointedness? When you sleep, there's all kinds of stuff going on. You get all kinds of dreams, you got all kinds of things distracting you, don't you? They're just going on all over the place. And your awareness is obviously going with them, or you wouldn't know you had dreams. I had this amazing dream. How do you know? Because you were there, but you weren't in dharana. You weren't in this one-pointed focus of awareness onto one point. Some people say meditate on a candle, meditate on a mantra. Now you're bringing your mental and emotional energy down to one point. That's called dharana. So that's beyond pratyahara. You have to go through pratyahara to start with. And now you're in there and you have the ability, which most of us do not, to focus your awareness at will, or even after a 2-week seminar, maybe you can, all right, to focus your awareness on one-pointedness. Well, what's so great about that? Nothing. There's nothing great about meditating on a candle. There's nothing great about meditating on a mantra. It's the one-pointedness that matters. It doesn't matter what you're one-pointed on. It's the fact that you're not distracted. Your consciousness is not distracted. It wasn't distracted by the outside world and pratyahara. Now it's not distracted by mind and emotions, by the psyche. Do they have to stop? I thought it was so beautiful. I once heard Muktananda Baba. He once said, Baba has found out that the mind does not have to stop in order to enter samadhi. Samadhi, we're going there next. All right? That's the highest state of total liberation. What do you mean the mind doesn't have to stop? The outside world doesn't have to stop for you to withdraw your senses. Does it? I was going to say, stop the world so I don't have to look at it. No, you withdraw your consciousness from it. And so what Baba was saying is, if the mind's going on, you have the ability to withdraw your consciousness from it. You don't have to stop it. Whoa, that's a nice thing to hear, isn't it? That's a very high state. In other words, it doesn't distract you enough, just like the outside world when you're sleeping are not distracting you enough. You understand that? I'm giving you deep yogic teachings here. You're in there, and when you try to fall asleep, your mind, blah, 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 and then when you do fall asleep, the dreams go blah, 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 blah. So you're not one-pointed consciousness, all right? He had the ability that when his mind was talking some, just like Yogananda could fall asleep at will, Baba could sit there and say, the mind's talking, just turn your eyes up. Don't pay attention to it. It's gone. Might as well be gone. If you're not paying attention to it, it might as well not be there. I'm teaching you really deep stuff. All right? It doesn't sound like it because it's so mundane, if you will, your understanding of it. So now you come inside, and for pratyahara is that, and dharana is you have the ability to focus your consciousness at one-pointedness so the mind is not floating, creating, distracting, at least not distracting you, the emotion not distracting you. So here you are, completely focused on one-pointedness. Is that a high state? Well, we have trouble getting there. It's rather peaceful, right? But it's not enlightenment. It's not some absolute great state. He then says, once you can focus your awareness at will at one point and have it not be drawing, not struggling. If you're struggling, you're still there. When that sunset catches your attention, you don't have to do anything. It's just, whoa, blows you away, doesn't it? It pulls you out of your mind. It was so beautiful. It touched me the depth of my being. I love saying that to you. Has anything ever touched you the depth of your being? Literally, where you were not there, you just melted into it. It's beautiful, isn't it? That's what we're talking about. Nothing distracted you from the depth of your being. So now we have one-pointed focus on dharana, on, it doesn't matter what it is. The next step, really beautiful, is called dhyan, where he says, now take that one-pointed focus and focus on the consciousness itself. Instead of being the consciousness, focusing on that point, release it to where the consciousness isn't focusing on anything. It doesn't have to come down to be small, all right? And all of a sudden, you're big, all right? That's what happens. There's Buddhist teaching where they say in some of the Satori states, all right, which are not permanent, some Satori state, that instantaneously you were little. Now you see the whole thing, the light is, you become the universe because you stopped focusing. The consciousness is the universe. The problem is it is addicted to focusing on you. So as you work your way through these higher meditative states, you've learned to withdraw the consciousness to where it's not distracted by the outside world, it's not distracted by the thoughts and emotions, but now you can be in a nice state. That's not enlightenment, that's not anything. That's just, wow, it's nice here. But you're not thinking it's nice here. You just come back and say, wow. All right, some of you have gone in deep meditation. You come back from a deep meditation like that and you say, wow, I went so deep, there were no thoughts. How do you know? How do you know there were no thoughts? Because you were there and nothing was drawing your awareness toward an object such as a thought or an emotion. It's a very peaceful state. It's very beautiful, but it's not the same as At that point, you're still you. You're still focusing on the individuality of your consciousness. Focus, not, how about this? It's not focusing on the senses. It's not focusing on the emotions in the mind, but it's still there. Deep sleep can go there. You can come back from deep sleep and say, wow, I went so deep, I didn't have any dreams. How do you know? If you weren't there, how do you know you didn't have dreams? And you even say things like, it was so peaceful. You weren't in there saying it's so peaceful, or it wouldn't be peaceful. So you went far enough back. Master Yogananda called that semi-super consciousness. It's not super consciousness, but the consciousness merges back into the one, but it's semi-super consciousness. It's not being pulled down. I can't believe we're talking about this. Do you all understand that this is the deepest teachings of spirituality? It's the essence of yoga, it's the essence of all spirituality. And so basically, that is dhyan. The focus is one pointed. And it's not like you turn it back. You can't be there to turn it back. There's not an ego there. What happens is when you let go enough, when you let go of the thoughts and emotions, and there's peace, there's depth, it starts to pull you up into it. What does? The ocean pulls the drop into it. You actually feel an upward pull. But if you try to do anything about it, people say all the time, I saw the light and then I started to focus on it and it went away. Of course it's going to go away because you're there now and you only saw it because you weren't there. And then you start to have these deeper inner states and you'll feel that it is natural that you be pulled up. It's the ascent. But you're not there doing it. All right? So you reach a point where your individuality is what's in the way. So when he talks about dhyan, he's talking about focused consciousness on consciousness itself. And it was don't leave consciousness in order to have to go back to consciousness. It just is what is, but it's not. That's why this thing about distraction and focus is so important. It's everything, all one. But you focus its ray down to a tiny thing. As you let go of what you're focused on, the ray is not being pulled down as much. And so it starts to expand in, not out, expands in, right? But that final step is very, very difficult. Yeah, Yukteswar, Yogananda's guru, these are great master, once said that even the soul that reaches that state, where he's ready to go, is like a bird that's been caged their entire life. The gates open, the door open, they jump there and they sit and they look around. It's scary. They've never experienced who they are, that liberation, that freedom. Okay? Then finally they fly. And so these are stages you go through in the deep stages, right? So what was it all based on? It was based on your consciousness, your awareness of being, not some mystical thing. You in there, not being so distracted by your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and what's going on in the outside world, that's who you think you are. You are so distracted that you think you are your thoughts. You think you are your emotions. You think you are your body. You literally think you are the experiences you had. Who are you? I played Dorothy in the 5th grade, and then I had this boyfriend who really hurt me terribly. You're describing experiences you had. You're not describing who's in there. You're not describing who had the experience, are you? You're sitting there and you built this world in there made out of your experiences. That's who I am. This person got married, then we got divorced, and then I had this child. What are you doing? That's not who you are. Those are the experiences you had. And what you did, because we're so lost that the consciousness didn't know itself. It got lost. That's the fall from the garden. It got lost. And so it started grabbing onto mommy and daddy and crib and toy. It built a self-concept within itself. That's what a self-concept is. It's a mental frame of reference that says, I'm okay as long as you accept that this is who I am. And you understand that? And it's trying to build a me. And then what does it do? It goes out there and offers it to everybody. It tries to sell itself. Oh, it's so embarrassing. I am not stupid. Don't say that. I am not. You get defensive in this. You define everything. Then you fight to be who you are. But it's not who you are. You're the consciousness looking at this house you built in there. And that's called the ego or the self-concept. When Christ said you must die to be reborn, someday you'll understand exactly what he meant. That needs to go. And when that's gone, the personal self, it naturally merges back because it always was. It was just being distracted by you. It's not like you have to do anything. Just stop being distracted. That's the whole path. And you get right down to what I always teach you. So what does it boil down to? It boils down to you've had experiences in your life. Good, mazel tov, congratulations. I'm glad you had experiences. Don't worry, you have them every single second of your life, and you'll still have them again every second of your life. But not the same ones. You have different ones all the time. Okay? Because it keeps changing. Everything keeps changing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what it means to be alive. That's what it means to have senses and be conscious. You're experiencing life. You came here to experience life. You didn't come here to renounce it. Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve. Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve. I've just described to you the entire path of evolution in the highest state, but we haven't gotten past the first step. We don't even want to have pratyahara. We want to stay up all night so we can keep enjoying what we're doing or protecting ourselves what might go on when we're asleep. Some people can't sleep. They're too excited about getting what they want or too scared about the fears that something might happen. Well, that's a far cry from pratyahara. You can't even withdraw from your senses. You can't even get out. Or you're sitting there and there's somebody in the room next to you and you're supposed to be sleeping. What are they talking about? They're not talking about me. Right? So the path becomes, it's easy to talk about pratyahara, withdraw from the senses, and then sleep, and then, going into one-pointedness. Okay, you can talk about it all you want, but you can't do it. How do you actually walk this path? Because your intellectual knowledge about it is just more noise. You come to the question of, okay, here I am. Yes, I am lost in my thoughts. Are you lost in your thoughts? Have you noticed they rumble around in there all the time and they change their mind all the time and they cause all kinds of trouble, and then you try to solve the problem with the trouble they caused, all right? And you're lost in your emotions. You can't handle them, so you try to control everything. You're lost in there. Who's you? The consciousness. The consciousness is pulled down because you're distraught. A drug addict, they know the heroin's not good for them, but they're addicted. So the only time they feel okay is when they're getting what they're addicted to. The only time you feel okay is when you're getting what you want and not having to get what you don't want. It's an addiction. You've had past experiences that made you happy. You want it to happen again. Have past experiences that hurt you. You don't want it to happen again. It is an addiction. You're addicted to those experiences. So basically, you come to the point where you question, is there a way out? Of course there's a way. You're already out. You are out looking in. It's not like you have to get out. You are already enlightened. It's amazing. Christ, his teachings were phenomenal. He literally says, as I sit by the throne of my Father, so you shall sit by my throne. And these things which I do, you should do these and even greater things. What's he telling you? That you're a sinner? No, he's telling you you're the same as me. When he says, as I sit by the throne of my Father, he's not talking about a seat. He's talking about a state of consciousness. The I is the awareness of being. As this being sits where? In the merger with God, in the oneness with God. So you should sit by my side and do even greater things than what I'm doing. You ever heard that? It's in the Bible. Check it out. Okay? You're a great being. And Christ said you must die to be reborn. What does that mean? You have to let go of this stupid, fake personal self that you built inside your mind that's trying to sell itself and protect itself. It's just you spend your whole life dealing with that thing. And when that goes, you're reborn in spirit. Just immediately you go straight up and you merge. So the question is, nice to talk about, very inspiring, but how do you do it? Okay, and there's all these different paths, and they're all beautiful. I don't judge anything. So for example, renunciation. That is a path that people try and work with. My question is, how do you know what to renounce? Maybe you have a kid has a little bunny rabbit. You're very attached to it. Well, you better renounce that if you're going to go to God, because that's not pratyahara. Somebody else has a husband. Somebody else has a child. Somebody else has a food. How do you know what to renounce? That which you're caught in, you don't renounce something you don't want. That's not renunciation. But if you're caught in it, if you can't practice pratyahara with it, you're taught, some people teach you, stay away from it, push it away, renounce it, don't touch it. That's called suppression. Freud had a very nice name for that. It means you obviously want it or you wouldn't be renouncing it. How's that? I play the joke with the Catholics. It's Ash Wednesday. You're supposed to give up something. I hate Brussels sprouts. I'll give up Brussels sprouts. No, it doesn't count. You're supposed to be sitting there realizing that you're caught. But I want to know every single person's caught somewhere else. One person wouldn't even think about this event that I wanted to do it. The other person's dying to do it. So you're basically picking your biggest problem that you're not okay with, that you're caught up in, that you're addicted to, and saying no. Well, why were you addicted to it? What's going on? And what's going to happen if you push it away? The energy, there's no place to go. It's not free. That's not pratyahara. I have this list of things I don't ever do. I'm pratyahara. No, you're not. The very fact that the things you don't do means you want to. Because there's 800 billion things you don't do. I don't see you written down on those. You didn't know anything about them. Please listen to me. I'm not teaching you not to have discipline. I'm not teaching you not to have to work with things. There are times you have to work with things. There are times where your addiction is so strong that if you're anywhere near it, it just takes over. In which case, you better practice some control, some renunciation, what is renunciation? Pushing it away, not liberating it, not learning to let it go, not learning to free yourself from it. That's what spirituality is about. We just reached the point, been there, done that. That's a very high spiritual state. If you really mean it, been there, done that. Got my heart broken, this happened, it hurt somebody else. I've been around the circle. I see too much. I don't need to renounce it. I would never do it again. I've evolved. Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve. You're not evolving if you're renouncing. You're saying, I'm not going to evolve about that subject. So how do you work with it? If you're getting caught in it and having trouble stopping it, by all means, be conscious and try to practice some discipline, okay? But don't think that's the answer. You don't want to go your entire life down there pushing that thing away. You can't let go then. Do you understand that? You can't be free. And if you look in there, and that's the real path, you look in there, you realize, I got some work to do. Anybody got some work to do? Anybody got some stuff in there that they really don't want to face? They push it back down anytime it comes up. Anybody have problems with people, places, and things in life because it reminds them of bad things that happen inside? Or it's all about, see, I'm not talking about pratyahara and dharana, right? Those are very high states. That's wonderful. I'm talking how to get there, right? You deal with that stuff. To me, that is the foundation of your spiritual growth. If you deal with that, the rest happens by itself. If you have trouble visiting your mother or your father or your sister or your brother or your old town that you used to live in, you had all kind of trouble, right? And you still have that in there, you're not going anywhere. It doesn't do any good to suppress. Why? Suppress means it's still in there. You can't suppress your way to heaven. Why? Because suppression creates hell. Okay? It's easy to suppress your way to hell, right? Just keep pushing it back down every time it comes up. And you'll start worrying about will it happen again? And why did he say that? And I told you not to talk to me like that. You know I don't like when you talk to me like that. Why did you do that? There you go. And if I have to manipulate the world, that ain't pratyahara. I have to be completely attached to the world and make sure it's doing what I want so it's not bothering what I have stored in there. Well, I'm telling you, you're not going anywhere. There's no way you're getting liberated by keeping that stuff inside of you. So then you find out and you look at it and you realize, I need to figure out a way to get rid of this stuff. I don't want this stuff. You want that stuff in there? You like having to carry that stuff in there? Have you had experiences in your life that are so terrible, whatever, that you don't ever want to see them again, you want to talk about them, or look at them again, and every time they come back up, and they do come back up, you push them back down. Answer me, okay? You have no idea how many you have to start to clean them out. So the answer is, you can do whatever you want. That stuff's got to go. Do you understand that? How much of it? All of it? No, yes. Any part that's left is a part that you can't deal with. Otherwise, it wouldn't be left. Here, you got married and you like Pepsi-Cola. I give bad examples. You like Pepsi-Cola. Your newlywed husband likes Coca-Cola. Can you handle it? No, I like Pepsi better. He should. What are you doing? Okay, he likes Coke better. At first it's like that, okay. Then it's like, what do I care what he drinks? They're really the same anyway. See, you work your way out of yourself. Do you understand that? As opposed to committing yourself to the garbage that's going on in there. You learn, I don't want this in there. I just showed you. I usually do it at the end, at the beginning, showed you what liberation looks like. I showed you what it's like to move, to walk around in ecstasy at all times and have no problems in your entire life and help everybody. Wherever you go, everybody's helped because you let go of yourself. But now we're down to, how do you let go of yourself? You let go of yourself. And you start with the root. Buddhists say work the root. And the root is you stored that stuff in there, didn't you? And you do it every day. That's what's so funny. The driver in front of you, not driving the speed you want, didn't use their blinker. You tell everybody at work, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're on a little planet. It's a tiny little planet. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. What does that mean? It don't matter. What? Anything. If 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun, and the sun is one of 300 billion stars in your one galaxy, and there are 2 trillion galaxies, what are you doing? Worrying about what the guy used his blinker, or worry about whether it's hot out, or worry about that somebody's drinking Coke versus Pepsi, or worrying about anything. No wonder you're caught. You're not paying attention to the frame of reference of reality. Your frame of reference is what I started talking to you about. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and what's happening in the outside world. I think that's pretty small compared to what's going on. It's the tiniest cage that ever existed. One person's thought, one person's emotions, one person's body. If the entire Earth blew to smithereens tomorrow, a couple of planets would change orbit, and nothing else in the universe would ever know you were even here. It is so much bigger than you. It's so much bigger than the planet Earth. It's so much bigger than your star. There's 300 billion of those stars out there in one galaxy. You're only going to be here for a sneeze. It's been here for how long? How long has the Earth been here? 4.5 billion years. How long will you be here? 80, 90. Let's see, 4.5 billion, 80 or 90. You're nothing. You have to honor and respect that. But you want to be something. Why? Because you don't know who you are, which is everything. That's the funniest thing in the whole world. You are everything. You're the entire universe, caught looking at this tiny little thing and saying what matters is this. Now I need to get everything around me to be the way that matches me, and I'm driving myself crazy and do drugs and alcohol. That's why you do alcohol. Ultimately, that's why, right? An enlightened being does not do alcohol. Why would they? They're already in ecstasy. So are you. In there, so are you. But you're using that to stare at this. And so you get to the point where you realize, okay, I would like to devote my life to getting rid of this garbage that I managed to store inside myself. So people say, I like when they come to me and they say, yeah, but what are past lives? I don't even care or think about anything, right? Don't worry. If something inside of you is from a past life, let it go. It doesn't matter where it came from. It doesn't matter if mommy did it, daddy did it, boyfriend did it, or it happened in the womb. I don't want to talk about it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And so you start waking up to realize, I don't need to think about all this stuff. I don't need to be bothered by all this stuff. I need to let go of what's stuck down there. And the more you let go of what you're holding down there, and don't you doubt that you're holding it down there, there's no glue in there, no super glue or fly paper. There's nothing in there but you. And you're in there pushing this stuff down and building this mess. So you conflict with yourself and everything. It's all about letting go of yourself. It's funny that I'd never done that. We started with Patanjali. It was about pratyahara. We mean letting go of being distracted by the outside world. How can I let go of being distracted by the outside world when I'm afraid my car's going to get scratched, when I'm afraid I can't pay the bills, when I'm afraid that somebody won't like me? If they don't like me, then I can't be quiet. I can't do anything. I better go out there and not sit down and meditate. I better get them to like me. In other words, you're distracted by the entire outside world. Why? Because you're not okay, because you stored all this garbage down there. Get it out. How? That's your business. And the new book, Wisdom Untethered, people are doing very well with it, is very deep because it asks 200 questions that all of you have asked along the way. What if I don't get along with my spouse and this is happening? Should I leave? Or all the stuff nobody wants to talk about, right? How do you work away from yourself? How do you free yourself in this situation, that situation, business, this, that, everything? How do you use life to free yourself from yourself. Fair enough? That's what you have to do. Right now, you're using life to protect yourself from yourself. You have to have people be the way you want and dress the way you want and act the way you want. And you're trying to use life to protect yourself from yourself. Eventually, it turns around completely. And you say to life, come and get it. I don't want it. Come and get it. You know what that means? I am open. I am willing to go through whatever it takes to let go of this garbage that I'm holding inside of myself to protect myself from myself. All right? That's very deep. I like the analogy. I visualize it. You start off are this giant piece of marble, square, not so giant, 6 feet, 5, 6 feet by 2, 3 feet, square, marble, rough, just cut out of the quarry. There you are, and the world is flying around and hitting you and doing different things. And then all of a sudden, you feel this sudden, painful, very painful, sharp hit on this upper left area of the marble. God, what's going on? What are you doing? And it keeps happening. Just keep this hits there and hits there. And someone's like, you're killing me, stop it. And eventually you look and there's David's arm starting to come out of the marble. And you realize what's going on. Life is making something very beautiful out of you. But you have to be willing to let go of the pieces. You have to be willing to say, bring it on. Of course it's going to hurt. You stored it with pain. It's going to come back with pain. If you store pain and you want to let it go, what are you going to feel? Joy? Eventually you'll feel joy because you don't want the pain in there. So the pain is actually, what do you do? At some point you start seeing David coming out of that piece of marble. At what point do you catch on that chisel is the divine force making something beautiful out of you? And you start welcoming it. At what point do you welcome it? Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. It's freeing me. That's where you get. And you, at some point, enough happens and you let go of enough stuff to where the trials and tribulations and tough times that you go through, you realize those are my growth. They're not tough to you. They're tough to me. They weren't tough yesterday, but they're tough today. Why? Because you stored more stuff in there. You didn't learn to let go. You learn to be open. You learn to welcome life, honor it, respect it. Eventually, when you're dealing that stuff in, that's something I get to know a lot about after 55 years. First, you try to push it away. You try to push up on top of it. You understand that? That's what you're doing in meditation. Push that down so I can stick my head above the water. Well, you can be very busy doing it for a very long time. There's not much support in that water. And then you go here and you go here and you catch on and you realize, wait a minute, the mind is talking because the heart is not okay. I taught you that once. The root of the mind is in the heart. If your heart is full of love and openness, that mind gets very quiet. But if your heart's got all that garbage in there, the mind talks about it, about how to protect yourself, how to be okay, how to get what you need so that your heart's not bothered. Eventually, you don't live that life. You sit there and say, there's no end to that. I am willing to go through what I must go through to let this stuff go. I don't want it in there. So you get to that point where you're saying that, but even that's not enough. Then you get to the point you realize, wait a minute, this is not a tough time. This is a great time. It's freeing me. It's liberating me. Understand that? I was married and we were doing really, here, I'm going to get graduate school for you. I was married. We were doing really well. We loved each other. Then he did this, she did that. And now it's war. It's not doing well, right? But you're a conscious being. You're not trying to fight the war and deny it or anything like that. You're sitting here saying, can I use this divorce to free myself, not from him or her, from myself? Can I go through this consciously with all the turmoil and pain and disturbance and use it so that whatever was down there that got me into this is gone, so that I'm a greater being, not I'm scarred. I'm a greater being because I went through this. I'm more capable of relationships. I'm more capable of being free. You hear me? And you start looking at everything that way. You start truly welcoming the purification process, right? And then I noticed at some point, you look and you realize, wait a minute, I'm the consciousness. I did that. I shoved him down there. You understand that? Because I couldn't handle him. And you actually apologize to him. I'm so sorry that I shoved him in that dark closet. That we want the rest of your being to be locked up in some dark closet that can't open the door, and you only feel safe around everybody that doesn't touch it, and you put your hand down. That's when you're really getting there. The higher self reaches down to the lower self. It doesn't hate it, doesn't judge it. It just says, I did that to you. I took a part of my being, my Shakti, my energy, and I shoved it in a closet for years and years and shoved you right back down there, right? You apologize, literally. You stick your hand down and you say, give me your hand. I want to help you up. And he won't give you the hand. It takes time. You need to sit with it, right? But you're always there. And eventually that lower part of your being realizes you're always going to be there for it. You're never going to betray it. You're never going to do anything but try to help it up. And at some point, and that's really beautiful, it reaches up to you. Instead of you reaching down to it, that hurt, you call it the little child, the dark side, you call it, got names for it, right? It feels comfortable enough to realize you're there. You're always there. Consciousness itself is always there, right? And the little self reaches up. When that happens, all the Shakti starts flying up. It changes direction. So you'll never go down ever again. And then you just continue, go through this beautiful process of liberation, of freeing yourself. Now these Patanjali states are pratyahara. You don't have a problem. The world is not distracting you like that. Doesn't mean you don't deal with it, dance with it, but doesn't have the ability to pull you into it ever again, nothing. And then the mind isn't disturbed. It all becomes very natural. All right, well, we had a deep talk. Yes or no? Okay. I love that you're willing to listen. You better listen, or you spend the rest of your life protecting yourself from yourself. Do you see you're protecting yourself from yourself? Do you see you have soft spots in there that nobody should touch, and that everything has to be the way you want, and you have a dream that someday it'll be the way you want, you'll be okay. So you're protecting yourself from yourself. No, that doesn't work very well. You have to be willing to say, I don't need that protection. I'm a great being in here, but I've made a mess, and I'm willing to let go of that mess every day, every single day. And when I wake up in the morning tomorrow, I'm a greater being than who woke up yesterday. Every day, no matter what. You just keep letting it go. All right. Very good. Thank you for listening. Jagrative.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.